Hey guys, this here is part 2 of a two-parter. The first part was done by Critical Koenig, so if you haven't watched part 1, make sure you go watch his video so you have context. But without further delay, let's get into it. About 11 months after the voting incident, I left the RPG group and stayed out for the last 5 or 6 months. This was on account of the Paladin's player worming his way into the GM's good graces, because of how graciously he provides convenient resources to the GM and the group. Some of the group decided that they would like to game near one another and hang out afterwards, and the Paladin was all too happy to provide rooms for them, since he has access as a teaching assistant at the uni. He also lends out his computer for the GM to use all the time. On its own, that probably doesn't sound so bad, but the fact that he was becoming more and more controlling of the group had my alarm bells ringing. If he wanted to do something that didn't fit his idea of what to do, he could argue for hours upon hours, days upon days. And I'm serious, ongoing arguments could take days. All of that about why you were wrong, and how he was absolutely right to do what he wanted to do. The game would come to a screeching halt, just so he could drown whatever disagreement we had with these sorts of ramblings. There was no compromise, ever. He always had to win everything, and to play optimally so that nothing was left unturned, to the point where he basically inserted himself into every RP with NPC characters so he could control the party's direction. And since most of the other players were shy and inexperienced newbies, he was eating up all the RP, and you may think that I'm being jealous, and, well, there's fair room to say that I am, but after talking to the other players, everyone else was being rubbed the wrong way by his behavior. It's just, I am the one who hated him the most. And while they didn't like it, they also didn't want to make things ugly by disagreeing and getting another peer-reviewed essay about how they're wrong and dumb. So yeah, everyone felt cowed into doing what he said. And I didn't just leave because of that. I could tell you about how he would ruin our plans just to force us to do it his way. I could also tell you tales about how he wasn't above twisting and misinterpreting the rules to his benefit. And I should mention to you about how his stats were really sketchy. Sketchy, as in rather than roll for it in the presence of a witness, he sent the GM a screenshot of electronic dice rolls for his stats, none of which were below 16, and everyone was suspicious of that. There was a lot of things wrong here, and I talked to the GM about this, and despite these warning signs, he still considered that the Paladin player hadn't done anything to warrant getting kicked out. The GM didn't think that any of these horror stories could happen to us. After all, what are the odds? Well, not long after I left, the GM got on the Paladin's bad side when his Paladin died. Because the Paladin ignored a warning against making any hostile moves towards a witch, and got power word killed. This isn't so much of a problem as the cleric could resurrect him, but he rage quit and threatened to leave the game and take the game room with him if it wasn't retconned, so the GM did so. But I don't think that the Paladin ever forgave them for that, and I think that that is what made him so unhinged in this finale. The GM was in contact with an artist to do a commission for all the characters in the party, including my character and the character of the player replacing me. Everything about that should have been fine, but of course it wasn't. For the Paladin, he really hated the rough sketch that the artist sent back. He basically spent days insulting the artist's style and workmanship, and refused to use the correct pronouns when discussing the artist, and threatened to send a DMCA against the group and the artist if they tried to make the commissioned piece using his precious intellectual property. And keep in mind, the player isn't paying a single penny for this. It is simply the GM trying to be nice to everyone who's played in the campaign. Oh, and the crappy ironic cherry topping here is that the character was explicitly named after someone from Middle-earth. Like, copy and pasted. I think Tolkien's estate would probably want a word with him about that if anything legal were to come up. Well, the GM and the rest of the players finally laid into him about how much of a jerk he was. Finally. So, what is a person to do? Is it A. Acquiesce and apologize for acting so rude? B. Make constructive suggestions on how to best portray his character? Or C. Delete the Roll20 room everyone was playing in, delete the Discord as well, and use the laptop that he occasionally lent to the GM to get into the GM's Discord account because he had carelessly left a session open, and then proceed to delete all of his friends, servers, and then use it to impersonate him to send out hostile and repugnant messages to other people, especially the artist. Well, if you picked C, congratulations. There isn't any prizes, but at least you can say that you saw it coming. Like, I'm pretty sure you could sue the Paladin for this fiasco. It's just the GM isn't the confrontational type. On the bright side, at least he's gone now, and we learned a very hard lesson about that guys. The group managed to pick up the pieces and reforge the party, obviously minus the Paladin's player, but we'll be using his character for other things. Don't you worry. And are having fun again. Honestly, for the first time in forever, the group has the room to act out antics and freely chat with one another, and NPCs, and are overall happier. The best part for me is that, after learning this from one of the players, I decided to throw my hat back into the ring to reprise my character. I'm back in the party, baby. Well guys, I gotta say, a lot of this kind of boils down to the DM not putting his foot down. But this guy really is a piece of work. And it kind of worries me if he's a teaching assistant at a university on just how he acts as that. I feel like if the uni were to drop him, they probably wouldn't be losing anything of too much value. And to add to this, it's people like this that give the Paladin kind of a bad taste to a lot of people. It seems to be by far one of the most attractive to problem players. But in any case, that's the end of the story. If you haven't watched part 1, then go do it. And if you have and finished this now, then hopefully you enjoyed the whole story, and thanks for watching and have a good one.